During the construction of the world's deepest diving pool in Dubai, when a tunnel 45 meters deep had already been excavated, the engineering team faced an unexpected obstacle. News emerged that in Poland, a diving pool called Deep Spot had recently opened, with the same depth of 45 meters. It was clear that if Dubai wanted the world record for the deepest pool, its depth would have to be increased from 45 meters to 60 meters. But this task, while easy to imagine, proved extremely difficult to execute. Experts calculated that if the pool's depth were extended to 60 meters, the pressure of the groundwater could easily push it upward. It is just like placing a filled water bottle into a pond. It remains at the surface because the buoyancy force of the pond water pushes the bottle upward from below. In the same way, the entire pool could at any moment be lifted out of the ground. At this stage of construction, Dubai's dream of building the world's deepest pool seemed to be collapsing. But then, one idea changed everything. When it comes to setting world records, the very first name that comes to mind is Dubai. With 425 Guinness World Records, Dubai still holds the #1 position in the entire Middle East, and it seems that the city's rulers are determined not to lose this title at any cost. Among these world records came another edition built at the request of Dubai's Prince Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, now known worldwide as Deep Dive Dubai. But Deep Dive Dubai is not just a swimming pool. It is an extraordinary world of its own. At a depth of 197 feet, or 60 meters, it is the deepest pool in the world, containing nearly 14 million liters of water, the equivalent of 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools, or the amount used by 90,000 people in a single day. It was also difficult to keep the pool water clean. With NASA's assistance, a system was developed that filters all 14 million liters every 6 hours. Whether the outside temperature is 50 degrees Celsius or 20 degrees, the pool water is always maintained at 30 degrees for the comfort of divers. But here, more than the features of Deep Dive, we are interested in its construction techniques because the engineering community believes that Dubai's deepest pool is nothing less than an engineering marvel. During the construction of Deep Dive Dubai, engineers faced several challenges. Without wasting time, let us look at them one by one. The very first challenge was planning and design. Crown Prince Sheikh Hamdan wanted a design that could reflect a glimpse of Dubai's cultural values. Before oil and tourism, pearl diving was a major occupation in Dubai. Professional divers would plunge into the open sea without scuba gear. They would search for seashells, extract the pearls, and sell them. A large part of Dubai's economy once depended on pearl diving. Keeping this idea in mind, Deep Dive was given the shape of a seashell, one that, from a distance, resembles an open shell lying on the seashore. But that was only the external facade. The real question was how to build the world's deepest diving pool inside it. Architects and engineers from around the world were invited to contribute realistic ideas for this project. The simplest suggestion was to construct a strong building 45 meters tall and fill it with water. But this design had a problem. Such a pool would indeed be 45 meters deep, but to qualify for a world record, the pool needed to be built below ground, not above it. There was another issue. Dubai is an extremely hot city. If the pool were constructed above ground inside a building, the outside heat would affect the atmosphere of the pool as well. The Crown Prince of Dubai wanted not only a pool with a remarkable design, but also one whose depth would be spoken of worldwide. That is why the decision was made to dig the world's deepest diving pool underground. A vertical shaft would be excavated in the ground. And with that, a new challenge began: excavation. The shaft was planned to be 65 feet wide and 147 feet deep. It was not only to be excavated, but also lined with a wall along its borders to prevent it from collapsing. In engineering terms, this wall is called a diaphragm wall. To carry out this task, a special excavator was brought in. With the help of the machine, a trench as wide as a pillar was dug to a depth of 147 feet. A steel cage was then placed inside, and the trench was filled with concrete. In this way, small sections were completed one by one until the entire diaphragm wall was constructed. This whole process took more than 2 months. After that, excavation work began. The plan was to dig in increments of 5 meters, down to 45 meters, the depth to which the diaphragm wall extended. But after only the first 5 meters of excavation, a new challenge appeared: dealing with groundwater. When the diaphragm wall had been completed and excavation started, water began seeping up from underground at a depth of just 8 meters. Since the diaphragm wall had been built in separate sections, tiny gaps remained within it. Through these gaps, groundwater began to seep in easily and collect inside the tunnel. Without managing this water, it was impossible to continue excavation. To address the issue, pumps were installed that continuously drained the water, allowing excavation work to proceed alongside. Excavation went on for the next 2 years, during which the pumps also had to run constantly. For Deep Dive Dubai, a total of 45,000 tons of soil, sand, and rock debris was removed. But once the pumps were switched off after excavation, water began to fill the tunnel again. In this situation, it became essential to waterproof the diaphragm wall thoroughly before the pumps could be shut down permanently. Over the following months, extensive waterproofing of the diaphragm wall was carried out. Only after this process was complete were the pumps finally turned off. From building the diaphragm wall to excavation to waterproofing against groundwater, the entire process took more than 3 years. By this stage, the engineering team was already running behind schedule, and every single day had become precious. But during the construction process of Deep Dive, a new crisis arose. The diaphragm wall had been completed, the excavation was finished, and the groundwater issue had been managed. At that very point, news arrived that near Warsaw, the capital of Poland, a diving pool named Deep Spot had opened, and its depth was also 45 meters, or 147 feet. This news struck the entire Deep Dive project team like lightning, because all their hard work so far had been aimed at breaking a world record. Normally, the details of such projects are kept highly secret, and the same had been done in this case. When the Crown Prince of Dubai learned about this, he requested that the depth of Deep Dive be increased further so the world record could still be secured. But there was a serious problem. At just 8 meters below ground, groundwater was already present, extending all the way down to 45 meters. This meant the groundwater was pushing upward against the entire pool from below a force known as buoyancy. Engineers had already calculated how to cancel out this buoyancy force with the weight of the water that would fill the pool. But those calculations had been based on a depth of 45 meters. If the pool's depth was increased by another 15 meters, the buoyancy force would also increase. In that case, it was entirely possible that the pool, along with the entire diaphragm wall, could be pushed upward out of the ground. Just as an anchor holds an entire ship in place, in the same way, under-reaming kept the entire structure firmly anchored to the ground. Through this technique, the depth of Deep Dive Dubai was extended from 45 meters to 60 meters, making the project once again eligible for the Guinness Book of World Records. But the challenges were not yet over. As the days passed, keeping the 60-meter deep tunnel empty of water became increasingly dangerous. This was because the buoyancy force could only be countered by the weight of the water inside the pool. If it remained empty for too long, the entire structure could be lifted upward by the groundwater pressure. The next step was to fill it with 14 million liters of water. But there was a problem. Dubai's water supply authority could provide only a limited amount of water. At that rate, filling the pool would take 3 months. To meet the deadline and speed up the process, more than 100 water tankers were brought in to support the supply from the water authority. The massive scale of Deep Dive can be understood from this. Even with these arrangements, It still took a month to completely fill the pool. Once the water was added, some items inside began to float. To solve this, holes were drilled into those items and extra weight was placed inside them so they would no longer rise to the surface. After all the finishing work was completed, Deep Dive Dubai was first opened in 2021 for special guests and then for the public in 2022. The cost of building Deep Dive Dubai has so far been kept secret by the Dubai government, as in their view, this is a priceless project. What do you think about it? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments section. We hope you will also like and share this video. We will see you again in the next exciting video.